Colin Russo with ESPN West Palm, ESPN West Palm High School. Game day, Little Kaiser's Coach's Corner, and this time celebrating a state championship. Class of 1A, a dominant performance over the weekend for Grandview Prep girls basketball. 71-37 over Orlando Christian Prep. Joined now by the head coach, good friend of program, Coach Jeff Price with us now. Coach, congratulations on the win. Couple days removed. Give me a little bit of the taste. How was this marinated? How has this felt? How's the last couple days been with you and the girls?
Well, first, I want to thank you for having me on. I appreciate the words. It's been great. We went through this last year, and our whole goal was try to get back to back. And I think it's a great thing for Grandview and for our kids, and everybody around here has just been absolutely thrilled, and we've gotten a lot of play out of it for sure.
And going back to back is no easy feat. Talking into the year, we've talked about how you made it a point to try to schedule as tough as you can at the beginning of the year, travel around, play the toughest tournaments you can, the toughest teams, whatever it might be, to get these girls prepared for the eventual moments in the state tournament. It turns out that obviously proved very consequential. Talk to me in macro the entire season. Is this how you're going to be planning the Grandview Prep seasons going forward?
Well, we did it. We did it last year, not quite as strong, but I kind of learned a lot from last year about the girls' basketball, layout somewhat. And I was really happy at the end of the regular season this year. We had played for Max Preps the toughest schedule in the state of Florida, all classes. So that was definitely a goal, to play good people. I mean, our losses came to the best team, number one team in Virginia, the number one team in North Carolina. So, we're playing really good people. And again, the whole goal was to have a really, really challenging season. So by the time we got to the state tournament and got to the Final Four, that things would seem a little easier for us. I won't say they're never easy, but I think you can see by the scores that it was we were ready to play the people we played for sure.
And the important part about playing in postseason basketball is to play your best basketball at the end of the year and make sure the team is peaking at the right time. Would you say that this team peaked at the right time, playing their best basketball throughout the last couple of games of the year?
Without a doubt. I felt like at the end of the year we were playing as good as we could. I could kind of see it going into the regional, really towards the end of the regular season, and just felt like we were really hitting on all cylinders. So I feel like by the time we got to the Final Four, we were playing as good as we've played all year, which is always.
Throughout the year, what did you make sure dial in that you wanted to? All right, well, we noticed at the beginning of the year when we lost to this team or that team, or we had a tight one here, whatever it might have been, that we needed to dial this in. We needed to get this better. The team was obviously immensely talented and very good, and camaraderie was there. What was the biggest things throughout the year that you needed to adjust, dial in, and that the girls needed to get better at towards the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, the goal from the beginning, what we knew starting the season was that it was going to be to develop our chemistry. So that was an ongoing thing. When you have, when you have three kids that come in that are all highly touted and the leading scorers and all state people where they came from, that's going to be a challenge. And, we talked about that the very first day that we started for three of our players to be able to coexist. And as the season went on, it got better and better. And I felt like by the end of the year, it was tremendous. And, we always try to buy into defense, and at first it wasn't easy, but the more we continued to buy into our defense, by the end of the season, our team defense was outstanding.
I mean, having big-time players coexist, I think, is a fascinating prospect because I think it's different in every level you play. Obviously, you have experience coaching on men's teams at the collegiate level. You obviously now have plenty of experience coaching at the girls' high school level at the top of the line in the state of Florida. But having personalities on top of players coexist, making sure that they sort of roll with each other. Sometimes they don't need to be best friends on the court in terms of how they play with each other, but they need to be able to sort of collaborate. And is that something that you found that your coaching experience allows you to get better at in terms of managing roles and figuring out roles? Even so, tell me about that.
Yeah, I think so. And more just convincing them that, if they want to be successful, then first of all, people and college coaches love to watch great teams and good players. Most really good players want to play with good players. That was a buy-in to get them here, and just to watch them slowly develop and continue to preach. Let's not care about who gets the credit. Let's learn to play the game the right way, because that's what people want to see at the next level. They don't. Everyone knows your talent. That they want to know if you know how to play the game. So we preach that a lot. Where maybe at the previous school they were at, they would force plays and try to make things happen, but that's not the right way to play the game, is to hit the open person. And, as we kept going on throughout the season, we just kept getting better and better. And it was very evident in the state tournament when, we had uh, all three of our top level players were all about the same stats and the same numbers. And one of them got in foul trouble in the championship game, another one stepped up, and just it was really good to see.
And once you got into the postseason, there was a couple games, obviously, where the scores weren't that close. But then you got to a point where you played a couple close ones. You had a couple dominant performances, especially in the Final Four. The Schoolhouse Prep game was the closest game you guys played, really, in the last 3, 4 weeks of the year. Tell me about that game specifically. Was that posed to as a little bit of a surprise to you guys? Was the scouting report knowing that going walking into this is might could be our closest game of the postseason? What happened in that game specifically?
Yeah, we knew that actually. Even going into districts, we spent the 2 weeks before that game really just preparing for Schoolhouse. I mean, we were number one in 1A in the state, and then they were number two in the state in 1A, and we were both in the same region. So we knew that the winner of that game was going to probably be the one to move on. And it was a challenge. We knew it would be. I mean, we beat them by 11. They have a nice team, but kind of present you with a different style of play and some having to take care of the ball and do those things. And but it was at Grandview, and what a great atmosphere for our game. And after that game, I think our girls were, they kind of knew that we had played a really, really good team, and hopefully we'd get to the Final Four and, have some fun.
And what's interesting about how the high school sports is scheduled in the state of Florida is the schedule itself is a little bit of a sprint, and it's just game after game after game. You get 2 games a week, you get another game here, another game there. It's quick, it's operating quickly. Then you get into the state tournament past regionals, whether it's past districts and so on and so forth, and it sort of spreads out a little bit. And then you got all of a sudden you get a couple days here. You're going to go weekend to weekend, especially in different levels, not even just 1A. There are times where teams have 10 days off. And it wasn't the case here, but having prolonged periods of time off, how did that prove, I guess, help or I guess keep the girls focused when you got 4 or 5 days to prepare for these teams? Tell me about that.
Well, I don't. I think it hurt us really. I mean, you can't stay game sharp. That's the first time the state of Florida has done that. But you're absolutely right. Man, at one point, we played 3 games in a month. We were playing. Our district final game was forfeited, so we didn't play. So we played no game in the district. So we had a week wait there, and then another week before we even played our first game in the regional. So we had 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's yeah.
And to try to keep them tuned in and game sharp and practice every day against each other and stay healthy, which was going to be our whole deal. As long as nobody got hurt, we were going to be fine. But you can't just come and shoot every day. You have to compete a little bit. So it became a challenge with that time off. And then we played Friday, Friday, Friday. You have a week in between each time. But, I thought our kids did a really good job of staying locked in because they're basketball built people and they get it. And I thought we did a really good job.
I mean, that's a football schedule. You're playing on Friday nights. This is tackle football. Like you got 1 week off in between games. There's only so many mock scrimmages you could possibly do.
Yes, no doubt. And we felt it coming as we continued to try to have practice and do things. And so we tried to make some things fun and do some different stuff. But no question, it was different than it has been in the past. I have to wait a week to play.
And Coach, 2 years into your tenure at Grandview Prep, what would you say is one of the things you could say about coaching at the girls' level versus coaching at the collegiate level in your experience with coaching on the men's side? I know we talked about it a little bit last year, coaching your daughter, but now you got another year under your belt. You get 2 state championships. It's one of the top teams in the state, and now we're talking about your experience as a coaching over your career. What would you say are some of the differences that you've noticed? And I guess in your experience, how does this differ?
Well, to be honest, the biggest difference is when you coach in college, all the pressure you have is really not just what you put on yourself, but from a lot of people. And coaching where I'm coaching now, the only pressure I have is the pressure I put on myself, not from other people. So, you don't feel like people are looking over your shoulder. People are really, really good about it. But if you compete as a coach, you're going to have pressure on yourself. So certainly there's always pressure to win, but it's been a really, really good 2 years of me learning more about girls basketball and how to handle girls in general. And in my opinion, they just listen so much better. They pay attention. You talk, they lock in, they look at you. Uh, they have more of a common goal to win championships and be great as a team and not be an individual. And those things I've really enjoyed.
And especially at the high school level, where these days you're dealing with girls that are growing up too, and then getting them not only to play at the next level, be ready for the next level, but they're learning from somebody like you who has college experience. You know how a college coach thinks, whether it be at the men's or the women's level. I think it goes to show just how well that could translate when you just go back a step and you realize that you teaching these girls how to become college basketball players, it's I sort of the credibility is already there because you have experience in college. You felt that was a piece of the team. The fact is that these girls want to play college basketball, and I know how to get them there.
Yeah, that's certainly one of our big sells. I mean, Grandview is a great school. That helps a lot, and we have great support from our administration. Our program is to the point now, which is really cool, where all our girls have a common goal, and that's to win a championship and play in college. So I don't have to beg girls to come to the gym and get up shots and work out. These are kids that work out 360 days out of the year and enjoy doing it. So um, and I think they buy in really well that, look, this is how it's going to be for you in the future. So we're going to do it like this now in regards to discipline and terminology and everything that we do to try to get them ready for the next level.
And coach, for you and your, I guess throughout this state tournament specifically, to go back to the games a little bit, going into that state championship, going into it, did you tell the girls to sort of, were they relaxed going into it? Are you the type of coach to kind of make the moment bigger than it is? Do you make it smaller than it is? Do you kind of keep them locked in that this is win or go home time? How do you, and your experience with these girls, how do you approach big time win or go home playoff games?
Well, as individuals, they all prepare a different way, So I'm very loose in regards to letting them prepare how they need to prepare mentally and what they need to do, whether it's sit in the corner and be quiet or listen to music or, run up and down the street, whatever they need to do to get the game. But I never try to make the moment bigger than it is. I always, my stress, my point to them has always been just enjoy this moment because you don't get it very often and have a great time and play as hard as you can play. And we didn't build up the people were playing at the moment we were in or anything like that. But again, we had pretty experienced girls that have played a lot of games, and I don't think it phased them at all.
And coach, for you and your future, there is Grandview Prep place to stay for the foreseeable future.
Well, I always take a week and sit down and talk to my wife, so that time is coming here very soon. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's great. I tried to retire and they wouldn't let me, and then I was going to do it again and they wouldn't let me. So
No.
uh, we'll sit down and talk. But it's something I really enjoy. I live so close by, and it keeps me around the game, coaching. I have the flexibility to leave whenever I want and go see my daughter from them. So there's a lot of really great positives there.
And it's not like you're sitting in high school gyms recruiting high school basketball players for the collegiate level. It's not like you're dealing with transfers. It's not like you're trying to promote, re-recruit internally. You're sort of avoiding a little bit of a whirlwind that there is at the collegiate level, and it's a lot more basketball oriented at the high school level.
Well, we were just talking about that last night. I was talking about that with my wife and about how this time of the year in college is the time that you're about done playing. The time that I really really began to dislike as an older coach was recruiting and keeping your players there, not letting them leave and going to the portal. And certainly don't miss all that. And that makes this job a lot better when you have kids that want to be here. And I just basically show up and coach them hard every day and try to get them better.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, coach, to speak, I mean, look, I don't have the experience you have. I'm not a basketball coach, but my older brother is, and we've talked about this before. He's at the Division I level in the Big Sky at Northern Arizona. So they got eliminated in the first round of the Big Sky tournament, and then all of a sudden, the coaches start calling for these each and every one of these players. So it turns into it's almost a dogfight just to not only keep players in the building, but now you got coaches going here, going there. Can they figure out NIL? You need to figure out a financial contribution to the team just as much as you need to figure out like the player contribution to the team. So he's dealing with it. And you know what? I enjoyed talking with him about it because it's interesting. I do not envy his actual position, if that makes sense.
But unfortunately, that's the life he's in now, and I'm sure he's a young guy, so he's going to you either have to uh, adjust and adapt, or you get left behind, and I'm sure he will. Um,
Yeah.
that's the way the business is now, and it's if you have the NIL money and you're say halfway in the league with NIL and you finish last in the league, you're not spending your money right. You're going to get fired, and it's right now it's as much about being a coach as being a general manager as it is a coach. And you have to know how much each guy gets and know your collective and how much you have and how to space it out. And it's just so different right now. And I'm glad I'm not part of it.
Well, that's what happens. A lot of these coaches, they don't want to deal with it. That's part of the reason why Jay Wright walked away. I mean, who would have thought that, other coaches like Roy Williams could have hung around if they really wanted to. Roy Williams had every game at UNC, and you can't tell me he couldn't coach a basketball team if he wanted to right now. He just doesn't want to deal. I don't think with the extracurricular that now goes into college basketball. And I'm the biggest college basketball fan out there. I love it. I watch. I watch as much as I can, but it's a little bit of the Wild West. It's a little
Yeah.
bit of the Wild West.
I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a lot of mid-major coaches right now calling out Power Five schools and their coaches and assistants sitting behind their benches during
That's
games.
at Queen Charlotte. I did see that. I have a friend who plays on that University of Queen Charlotte team. He was the SEC coach who apparently was sitting on the court side, trying to, I guess, recruit, show face, whatever it might have been during the games. That is unbelievable. And I mean, I don't even know what can you do at that point, right?
I don't know if you saw the coach of South Florida. I thought his comments were pretty good. They're very unique and pretty good. He said, "You don't know me, and you don't understand that I will handle this situation in a different way, and it won't be with the NCAA. I'm going to find you personally. We're going to talk on." So that's where it's getting to. I mean, it's just getting worse and worse.
Yeah, there's an ethnicality to it, and there's also like we talked about professional players coming back to college. That happened at Alabama where they were begging for this guy to play who's already been in the NBA. He's already played in the G League. There's guy been playing who have played in NBA games, going back to college mid-season, judge restraining order, but the judge is an Alabama donor. That's ridiculous. I want to get your perspective on this because there's a lot of college teams out there, Illinois to be specific, who get professional players who play professionally in Europe. Now, this is not necessarily nothing new, but they're going after these Croatians and Serbians and guys from Latvia and these Eastern Europeans who have played professionally and now they're playing at college. Do you consider that and the American professional leagues the same? How do you view this?
Of course, I mean, if you're getting money to play, again, I'm an old school guy, but I'm from the day where you had to have X amount of hours transfer in to be eligible at Christmas and so on and so forth. You didn't meet your progress for a degree and all this stuff. And these guys are coming in now. They're taking overseas pros at Christmas and adding them to their teams. And so it's a whole different thing. The thing nobody really talks about, which is really sad, is how much it affects the high school kids. And that's what's really sad. You have so many good high school players out there that are putting in the time that want to play in college that aren't being recruited that 10 years ago would have been heavily recruited just because of the portal and the professionals and things like that. So I feel really bad for these high school kids and try to get them to understand that if you have an offer, you need to sign early in November. You don't need to wait because you can wait till the spring. They're going to the portal and travel basketball becomes more important for them to have a really good spring and summer with travel because it's just a different day and age.
And I mean, another person who said that, Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino is one of the great college coaches in the history of the sport. Came out and said, he goes, "I'm not going after freshmen. I'm going after juniors and seniors. I'm going after guys who are experienced. I want to pluck the guys who have experience rather than try to develop a high school player because it's a better investment of his NIL dollars, which is the new reality. It's college is now a feeder system in a lot of ways, not necessarily as much on the girls' end, but definitely on the men's side, where these guys have to go to smaller schools than they probably could have if they were in high school 10, 12 years earlier. And they got to sort of work their way up. Is like sort of like a pseudo minor league system.
Yeah, I mean, I've called several Division II coaches to help some high school kids I'm trying to help, and the very first thing they say is, "I just don't think we can take a young player right now," and that's Division II. So you can't. D2 has to get the guys transferring down, and their players are leaving. Len's better
Wow.
put his name in the portal. So I don't know if you know this. Like the leading scorer for Florida Southern 2 years ago just had 35 in his final game at Sanford. I mean, these kids are good enough to go play at that level, and they're going to get paid a little bit. They're not going to get paid like the Power Five guys. But if you throw 50 or 100,000 to a Division II kid, he's going to take it. And so Division II now is basically a glorified junior college where all these players are playing to try to leave.
Wow. Coach, I appreciate the discussion. I could do this all day with you. I'm going to be honest with you. So, but I appreciate the time talking about your spectacular season you guys had at Grandview Prep. Congratulations yet again. Enjoy the off season. This is a good timing because now you can just go, if you're a college basketball fan, you go right into March and you can watch a bunch of good college hoops the next couple of weeks. Looking forward to talking again soon. Enjoy the off season. Congratulations. Congratulations to you and the team. And looking forward to doing this again sometime.
Thanks. As always, appreciate you having me.